Hey there, Steve here. Hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to try and sound like Dylan Mattheisen. So what gear will you need? So I'm on Dylan Matheisen's Equipboard page here. I'm going to take a quick delve through. You need a thin line Telecaster. I have one of those here. And if you are thinking that's a pretty expensive guitar to get just to sound like Dylan, you are right, but I'm a big fan, so I bought this guitar largely for that and doing different tunings. But there are cheaper alternatives for you. For example, you could get the the Squier Classic 570s thin line Telecaster. I forgot to say here that you should have the pickup selector in the middle position. You can see on Dylan's guitars that he actually tapes some of them, and in one of them he's actually removed the switch, so just make sure you've got it in the middle position. So the next thing you need is a Fender Supersonic 60 combo. I know that he changed this combo into a separate head and then a cab loaded with vintage 30s, so a 4x12 full of vintage 30s. So that one's going to be difficult because I don't have one of those. So this is going to be an interesting experiment to try and recreate that sound without that amplifier. So onto pedals, we have the Boss Blues driver. I know he doesn't use that anymore. I've read in interviews, and also when I watched a recent video with the Premier guitar rig rundown, he says that he no longer uses that pedal. He uses a Line 6 DR4 delay modeler. They're quite hard to get a hold of, and I'm pretty sure he just uses it for the stutter effect. So you could pick up yourself a Boss DD3 instead and have it on the hold function with a short delay, and you get that same stutter effect. If you watch Delta Sleep, they do the same thing. For strings, you need the Ernie Ball Slinky Top heavy bottom strings, so I'll try those out too. And what's missing from this list is the Ernie Ball volume pedal, because I know on the latest tour, when they did the Breathe tour, for clean sounds he would bring the volume back, and then when it was a bit more gritty, a bit more dirty, then he'd just swell the volume back up to full.
Every time I want some sort of clean, I just kind of peel back like
50%
of, so it's like loud to like.
So I'm going to try and recreate 3 guitar tones from 3 different albums, so that way we get a mixture of different tones, and see if I can do it just with the gear that I have in this room and that I've just shown you. And along the way, hopefully you'll learn how to sound like Dylan Mattheisen yourself. Alright, so it's been about a week of just tinkering with tones and trying to work stuff out. It honestly took me much longer than I thought it would, and a lot of it's down to this Fender's not having the supersonic combo and trying to recreate the sound of that. A big problem of that is if you're aware of a supersonic, it has this burn channel which has a cascading gain, so it means it's got 2 different gains that, so gain 1 is a bit lower and gain 2 is a bit higher, and then they feed into each other. So it was really hard to kind of recreate that sound for one of the songs that we'll look at today. So the first guitar sound I tried to recreate, and it's the earliest of the sounds here. It's from the album Pleasant Living, and the song is Always Focused. If you're like me, when you first heard this song, you were really captivated by that intro. It's just such a lovely written part, that guitar part, and I just had to find out what that was and learn it straight away. So to recreate this supersonic sound as best as I could, I used my Rev D20. It's a very versatile amp because you can change a lot of the speaker settings in the 2-note software that you get with it, and you can also change the power amp tubes as well. So I went ahead and I changed the power amp tubes to the same that are in the Fender Supersonics, that's 6L6s. And then on this song, it's quite a warm tone. The high ends are a bit tamed, so I rolled off some of the EQ just to adjust for that. I got a vintage 30 4x12, so I bought this from the 2-note software to try and get the same cab that he's using. And then I just used 2 SM57s, one slightly off axis and the other one was just straight at the cone. I thought this sounded the most accurate. And on the amplifier itself, I got the gain down low, and I've also got all of the EQs, so the bass, middle, and treble at 11 o'clock. And I feel like I've really created this sound pretty accurately. Let's take a listen back to back, and then you can let me know down in the comments. So for the second track, we're going to the later album. This is Swell, and the track is Caution, and this is the one I had the most trouble with. I used the volume pedal to, in the intro you can hear it's like tamed off. You can still hear the distorted tone, but the volume's lower, right? So I believe that's how he did that, using the volume pedal.
The caution tape.
Now when it comes to the tapping part, then the volume pedal's all the way back up, and then the distortion's there. So the first thing I had to do was recreate that, cascading gain sound. So I've only got the one single gain channel on the D20. So I went ahead and I went ahead and grabbed the JHS Morning Glory, and I put that in front of the amplifier to act as the first gain stage, and then the amplifier to act as the second gain stage. And I got fairly accurately close, I do believe. And the settings I've got here in the 2Notes software are pretty much the same, I've just gone with the EQ. I've just turned it off basically. After I did all that, I think I recreated it pretty accurately. And yeah, you can let me know down below in the comments.
Has continued to stay as I'm waiting for a break. All I've learned, what's done is done, and you cannot change the past.
Alright, and on to our last track. This is one of my favourites of theirs. This is For the Sake of Brevity. It's just such a moving track, so heartfelt. It's just lovely guitar parts. Tuning's dropped down, so that's where these thicker strings really came in useful. It's quite a clean tone again, so I went with a similar sound that I used for Always Focused, but if we jump over I changed the EQ a bit. I felt like there was a bit more highs on this one. It's a bit more of a less of a warmer sound and a bit more like mid kind of focused. I rolled down the EQ on the bass, you can see here on the 120 and 360 range, but I used a different mic because I felt like that worked a bit better having this kind of other microphone. I don't know, I just went through them until it sounded the best, to be honest with you. And again, the power amps are still the same there. And there was a bit of reverb on this one. It's very in the background, so I went into the effects loop of my Rev D20 and I used the Mua R7 reverb pedal to do that one. So let me know how you think I did down below. I think I got fairly pretty close to the sounds. So if you would like to support more of these videos, if you want to see more of them, then there are various ways you can do that. You can become a Patreon, buy some merchandise, or you can even buy my math rock ebook, which will teach you just the basics of math rock guitar. As always, thank you to the Patreons that are supporting the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.